Howdy ladies and gents, it's me, Andrew, and with another day comes another review. Today, I am happy to get to talk about and give you, the viewer, my thoughts on Atelier Ryza 2 Lost Legends in the Secret Fairy, the sequel to 2019's Atelier Ryza Ever Darkness and the Secret Hideout. I do need to mention that, like in my Ryza 1 review, all footage you will be seeing is again for the Nintendo Switch version of the game, and thus my experience will be based off that version. I absolutely adored the first Ryza game, and gave it an easy recommendation in my review of it over a month ago. The question is, do I feel the same about Ryza 2? Well, let's find out. Our story follows the point of view of the previous game's protagonist, Ryza Stout, 3 years after the events of her previous adventure on Kirkin Island. Ryza, still working as an alchemist and also a teacher on her home of Kirkin Island, is living her life until she receives a letter from her childhood friend Tao, inviting her to the capital of Ashra-Bard, where he and Ryza's other friend Bosch had been studying abroad at. Tao asks for Ryza's help regarding to his research on some nearby ruins. Alongside with Tao's request, she is tasked by Boss's father, Moritz Brunnen, to take and learn more about a mysterious stone that had been in his possession. With these tasks put on her, Ryza travels to Ashra-Bard for yet another adventure. During her adventure, Ryza and us, the viewer, are reintroduced to characters from the previous game like Lind, Claudia, Impul, Leela, but also introduced to new characters like Tao's pupil, Patricia Abelheim. Now that I've described the setup of the story, what were my thoughts? Like the previous entry in the series, I really liked the story. It was more grand, with us being introduced to new locations like the city of Ashra-Bard and new characters to befriend, but also reintroducing characters we got to know and become friends with from Ryza 1. Just like the last game, I recommend Ryza 2 for its story. Now that we have talked about the story, let's discuss the gameplay. For this section of the review, I will be separating the parts of the gameplay into 4 subsections, those being synthesis/crafting, gathering, combat, and quests. First, we will talk about the crafting. The crafting is similar to the first game's crafting, as it still retains the grid/node based style, but with a few tweaks. The first being the introduction of a new essence system that is used to change elemental natures of the nodes within a recipe, alongside with adding new traits, making an already very flexible crafting system more so. The second introduction is an evolution link system that lets you combine 2 of your already crafted items to either 1, increase the stats of one of them, 2, evolve and improve his efficacy, or 3, make a totally different item in general. Another change to the crafting is a big one. Gone is the need to level up your alchemy rank in order to make newer recipes. Replacing it is a big skill tree that contains new recipes and buffs to different parts of the game that are unlocked by using SP. SP is earned by crafting, using alchemy, and doing other activities in the game, such as exploring ruins and doing whatever objectives are part of it. This brings a nice twist on what we saw in the last game regarding to improving our prowess as an alchemist, and I was a fan. Next, we will talk about the next big part of the gameplay. Gathering. Just like my section on synthesis, gathering is pretty similar with you using your adventure tools like axes, scythes, fishing rods, etc. to gather the materials you need for the next item you want to make. But also, like the crafting, there are some new additions to talk about. These changes I'm talking about are mostly referring to traversal. Ryza is now able to perform the actions of climbing, swimming, hook shooting across gaps, crawling, and best of all, mount riding. Who's a good boy? You are! You are! These mechanics that are introduced makes it much more fun to explore around and look for new materials to turn into cool items, like bombs! Next is our good old pal, combat. Now, combat is going to feel quite a bit different this time around, as it has been greatly improved compared to Ryza 1. Like Ryza 1 though, you wait for your turn to make an action, like attacking and using items, the normal stuff. But now, there's new additions. That being the ability to defend while you're waiting for your next turn to start. Defending will reduce the damage you take from enemies, and if you time your defend just right, the damage taken is further reduced, giving you more to do during a fight. Another addition is being able to chain your skills if you have that AP to spare though, and be able to use multiple items in one turn. This is also dependent on how much you have, but instead of AP is CC. This means that one turn you can heal you or your allies and use an attack item on an enemy at the same time. One other change I think is notable is the fact that when leveling your tactics during battle, instead of it being manual like in Ryza 1, it's automatically done so you don't have to do anything at all, which in my opinion is a good change. All these little improvements and bigger improvements make for a much more engaging combat system than Ryza 1. And I love Ryza 1's combat. Finally, let's talk about quests. Quests are pretty different this time around. Most common quests that you'll find are located at the cafe in the hub area. These mostly consist of simple fetch and kill quests. There's also quests that you can find by talking to NPCs in Ashra Bar that can increase your reputation with them via the newly introduced reputation system meant for different groups of people in the city, like for example a group of bandits. Though these quests tend to just also be fetch and kill quests and don't differ much from the quests you find at said cafe. The reputation system is an interesting addition, but is hampered down by the cookie-cutter objectives that the quests involved have. The quest in Ryza 2, in my opinion, is the game's weak point. So you've heard everything I had to say about the gameplay. What are my final thoughts? Well, I have to say, Atelier Ryza 2 is a great sequel to an already amazing game that I absolutely adored, and this one is no different. From the better story and the improvements that were made to the crafting system, combat, and gathering, and all the quality of life changes on top of that, I think makes for a great package of a game, even despite the small setbacks that are caused due to the lackluster and cookie-cutter quests. That doesn't hurt the game at all when everything else is so overwhelmingly great. Now the question, do I recommend Atelier Ryza 2? Yes. Yes, I do. Just like Atelier Ryza 1, I recommend the second game. You should play it, especially if you played Atelier Ryza 1 or you're interested in the Atelier series at all. And with that, the review here is done. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!